Hello everyone, my name is Ava. Today, I want to take you on a journey into my past, a memory etched so deeply in my soul that it continues to shape the way I live and the choices I make. It's a story that lingers in the shadows of my heart, bringing with it waves of regret and countless what ifs. What if I had been braver? What if I had seen the signs earlier? What if I had chosen differently? These questions haunt me, as they often do when we look back on the defining moments of our lives. There are certain memories that cling to us like a scar, a painful reminder of something we wish could be undone. This is one such memory for me. It's a story I would give anything to erase, yet paradoxically, it is also a story that has shaped me, taught me, and in its own heartbreaking way saved me. Life has a peculiar way of teaching lessons. Sometimes it wraps them in joy and laughter. Other times they come wrapped in pain and sorrow. My story belongs to the latter, a chapter that reminds me of the fragility of trust, the weight of decisions, and the delicate balance of love and self-respect. As I recount this memory, I hope it will not only give you a glimpse into who I am, but also resonate with some part of your own journey. Maybe it will remind you of something you've experienced, or perhaps it will make you pause and reflect on the relationships you treasure today. Whatever the case, I hope this story leaves you with the same lesson it left me: the importance of setting boundaries, valuing mutual respect, and understanding that love, true, enduring love, is as much about holding on as it is about knowing when to let go. So take a moment. Close your eyes if you wish. Imagine the scene as I describe it. Step into my shoes, feel my emotions, and walk with me through this memory that changed everything. It all began many years ago, when I had just turned 18. At the time, I was living with my family in London, a city bursting with energy and charm, yet hiding its own quiet shadows. To me, life seemed perfect. My family was affluent, my parents were thriving in their careers, and I never had to worry about material comforts. My father, a driven and hardworking businessman, dedicated most of his time to his work. His schedule was packed with meetings, business trips, and overseeing major projects, which meant he was often away from home. Yet, despite his demanding responsibilities, he never allowed us to feel neglected. He made up for his absence in thoughtful ways. Handwritten notes left on the kitchen counter, surprise gifts from his travels, or a warm embrace and shared stories whenever he returned. My mother was the heart of our home. As a highly sought-after interior designer, her creativity knew no bounds. She had a way of transforming spaces into havens of warmth and elegance. Even with her busy career, she always ensured that our home felt cozy and inviting. She was the kind of mother who noticed every little detail, whether it was a tear in my favorite dress or a change in my mood, and she made it her mission to make everything better. And then there were my brothers, Nathan and Jack, identical twins who were 2 years older than me. They were the anchors of my childhood. Though they looked alike, their personalities were worlds apart. Nathan was introspective and calm, the type who thought carefully before speaking. He had a wisdom beyond his years, and his advice often carried a depth that left me in awe. Jack, on the other hand, was a whirlwind of energy. He could make a room come alive with his humor, and had an uncanny ability to turn any situation into an adventure. Growing up, I was incredibly fortunate to have them. They weren't just my brothers. They were my protectors, my confidants, and my biggest cheerleaders. While my parents loved and supported me in every way they could, the bond one shared with Nathan and Jack was different. It was raw, unfiltered, and deeply personal. I vividly remember how they always seemed to know when I was upset, even if I tried to hide it. They could sense the smallest crack in my voice, or the slightest hesitation in my words. One memory, in particular, stands out. It was the day I wore my favorite light blue dress to school, a beautiful dress with delicate lace details that my mother had chosen for me. I walked into school feeling confident and proud, but by lunchtime, that confidence had crumbled. A group of classmates decided to make fun of me, calling my dress old-fashioned and laughing behind my back. Their words cut deep, and by the time I got home, I was in tears. Nathan and Jack didn't need to ask what had happened. One look at me was enough for them to understand. That evening, they sat with me, listening patiently as I poured out my frustration and sadness. But they didn't stop there. The next morning, they walked me to school. Without any hesitation, they confronted the group of classmates who had mocked me. They didn't resort to shouting or threats. Instead, they used their sharp wit and unshakable confidence to make it clear that their behavior was unacceptable. From that day on, no one dared to tease me again. To me, Nathan and Jack were my heroes. They taught me what it meant to stand up for myself and to believe in my own worth. No matter what others said, they showed me that kindness and courage could go hand in hand. Our childhood was filled with moments like these, moments of love, laughter, and unwavering support. Whether it was building forts in the living room, competing in late-night board games, or simply sharing secrets under the covers, those memories are treasures I hold close to my heart. Even now, as I look back on those years, I can't help but smile. My family shaped me in ways I'm only beginning to fully appreciate. And Nathan and Jack, with their contrasting yet complementary personalities, remain two of the most influential figures in my life. They were not just my brothers, they were, and always will be, my safe harbor. Our family cherished many traditions, but the evenings when we all gathered in the living room were my absolute favorite. Those moments were magical in their simplicity, filled with the kind of warmth that only family can create. My father would settle into his well-worn armchair with a newspaper in hand, occasionally chuckling at some article, or sharing a witty comment that made everyone laugh. Meanwhile, my mother and I worked in the kitchen, whipping up an assortment of snacks, popcorn that crackled softly in the pan, warm cookies fresh from the oven, and steaming mugs of hot cocoa topped with marshmallows. Nathan and Jack, my two older brothers, always managed to claim the best spots on the sofa. They were polar opposites in many ways but united in their playful bickering, which usually revolved around what show to watch. I would wedge myself between them, my preferred spot. And that's when the real debate would begin. Who got to sit closer to me? They affectionately called me their little princess, and it was their solemn vow, declared with dramatic flair, that they would protect me forever. Those evenings filled me with a profound sense of belonging, convincing me that I truly was the luckiest sister in the world. As I transitioned into my teenage years, Nathan and Jack became even more integral to my life. They were my confidants, my protectors, and my guiding lights during the often confusing journey of growing up. There were days when I felt insecure about my appearance, struggling with self-doubt as many teenagers do. On those days, Jack would step in with a patience that seemed endless. He taught me how to apply makeup, carefully explaining each step with an encouraging smile. You don't need this to be beautiful, but if it makes you happy, I'll show you how to do it right, he'd say, his voice brimming with kindness. His gentle reassurance made me feel seen, valued, and beautiful just the way I was. Nathan, with his impeccable sense of style, took it upon himself to help me navigate the world of fashion. He had a knack for pairing outfits in ways I never would have imagined, and he often accompanied me on shopping trips, turning them into adventures. You're the cutest little sister in the world, he'd declare with a grin as I tried on a new dress, his enthusiasm making me feel like a star. Their efforts weren't just about appearances. They were about building my confidence and reminding me that I was deeply loved. But their role in my life went far beyond makeup tutorials and fashion advice. Nathan and Jack were my emotional anchors, steadfast and unwavering. When our parents were tied up with work, they stepped in without hesitation. They made sure I got to school on time, helped me tackle challenging homework assignments, and most importantly, ensured I never felt alone. Some of my fondest memories are from nights when I couldn't sleep. I'd tiptoe to their room and knock softly on the door. Without fail, they'd let me in, their faces lighting up with welcoming smiles despite the late hour. Sometimes Nathan would regale me with funny stories, his vivid imagination bringing characters to life, while Jack would sit beside me, his quiet presence offering comfort. On other nights, they'd simply stay with me until I drifted off, their love and care wrapping around me like a warm blanket. It was in these small, unspoken gestures that their love shone the brightest. The way Nathan always remembered to ask about my day, or the way Jack would quietly fix something I didn't even realize was broken. All of it spoke volumes about how much they cared. Their love felt pure and unconditional, a constant in a world that often felt uncertain. As I look back, I realize that the bond one share with Nathan and Jack is one of life's greatest gifts. They didn't just shape my childhood, they shaped the person I've become. Through their actions, they taught me about kindness, sacrifice, and the power of a simple gesture. And even as we grow older and life pulls us in different directions, I know that I will always be their little princess, just as they will forever be my beloved brothers. Life has a peculiar way of shifting the things we treasure most, often when we least expect it. The moments that define us rarely announce themselves. They unfold quietly, subtly weaving themselves into the tapestry of who we are. For me, it happened one unassuming summer afternoon, shortly after I turned 18. It was a day like any other, where the sunlight spilled through the windows, bathing the room in a golden haze that seemed to stretch lazily across the floor. The air was thick with the warmth of summer, the hum of cicadas outside providing a steady backdrop to our otherwise uneventful day. Nathan and Jack were sprawled on the old overstuffed sofa, their eyes glued to the TV as some action movie played out in vivid explosions and dramatic music. Their laughter echoed through the room, mixing with the distant sounds of summer. I had just woken from a midday nap, the kind that left you feeling both refreshed and groggy, and wandered into the living room. Still rubbing the sleep from my eyes, I plopped down between them without a second thought, letting myself sink into the familiar comfort of their presence. They barely noticed me at first, too absorbed in the movie's climax. But when I exaggeratedly wedged myself between them, playfully elbowing Jack to make space, they both burst out laughing. It was one of those moments where everything felt just as it always had, easy, carefree, untouched by the complexities of the world. And then it happened. As I shifted my position to get more comfortable, my hand brushed against something in Jack's pocket. It was small, hard, and unexpectedly warm from being pressed against his body. The sensation startled me, and my reaction was immediate, a sharp intake of breath as my cheeks flushed with embarrassment. I quickly withdrew my hand, muttering a rushed apology as my pulse quickened. Jack froze for a split second, his expression flickering between surprise and something else I couldn't quite place. He let out a nervous laugh, attempting to shrug it off as though it were nothing. "No big deal," he said, but the slight crack in his voice betrayed him. Nathan, ever the peacemaker, caught on to the tension immediately. With a grin that was too wide to be natural, he started teasing me about my clumsiness, cracking jokes in a valiant effort to dissolve the awkwardness. We all laughed, well, at least Nathan and I tried. Jack's laughter felt hollow, like an echo of what it should have been. The room quickly returned to its usual rhythm, but something invisible had shifted, something none of us could articulate in the moment. That evening, the incident replayed itself in my mind like a film stuck on loop. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling as the familiar hum of the summer night surrounded me. I kept trying to convince myself that it was nothing, just a silly misunderstanding. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the unease that lingered. What unsettled me wasn't the act itself but how it made me feel. That small, seemingly insignificant moment had pulled back a curtain I hadn't realized was there, exposing a side of my relationship with Nathan and Jack I had never considered before. The innocence of our closeness now felt fragile, tinged with an unspoken tension that hadn't existed before. Or maybe it had, and I was only noticing it now. I felt ashamed not of them, but of myself. Ashamed of the questions swirling in my mind, of the boundaries I was suddenly unsure of, and of how that fleeting moment had unsettled something so deeply rooted in me. I kept asking myself if I was reading too much into it, searching for answers in a space where none seemed to exist. The days that followed were filled with the same laughter and camaraderie we'd always shared. But beneath the surface, something had changed. It was subtle, little hesitations in our interactions, a second of too long eye contact, or the way Jack seemed to fidget when I sat next to him. Nathan, ever oblivious, carried on as though nothing had happened, and I envied his ability to live in the simplicity of the moment. But I couldn't. I was hyper-aware of every glance, every word, every gesture. The change was like a hairline crack in a glass window, nearly invisible, yet undeniably there, growing imperceptibly with every passing day. And I couldn't stop wondering, Had that moment truly changed everything? Or had it simply revealed something that had been there all along? Looking back on that chapter of my life, I realize now that it wasn't just a fleeting mistake or a momentary lapse in judgment. It was a pivotal turning point. It marked the moment when I truly began to understand the delicate dynamics of relationships. Relationships, no matter how deep or seemingly unbreakable, are not immune to the tests of time, emotions, and misunderstandings. They demand care, attention, and most importantly, boundaries to flourish. Love is an incredibly powerful force. It has the capacity to heal, to inspire, and to transform. But like any powerful force, it must be approached with respect and tempered with understanding. Without those, love can become chaotic, and its strength can inadvertently cause harm. Crossing boundaries, whether through words, actions, or intentions, even when unintended, has consequences that extend far beyond the immediate moment. These consequences ripple through our lives, shaping the way we see ourselves and others, sometimes leaving scars that take years to heal. Through this experience, I've come to understand that the foundation of any strong and meaningful relationship is built on trust, respect, and responsibility. Without these pillars, even the strongest bonds can falter. It's easy to be swept up in the intensity of emotions, especially when you're young or in unfamiliar emotional territory. Curiosity and passion can feel all-consuming, making it tempting to act on impulse without fully considering the long-term effects of your actions. But here's the truth. Strong emotions may fade with time, but the repercussions of crossing certain lines can remain. This story isn't just a reflection of my personal journey, it's a reminder for all of us. It's a call to value the relationships that we hold dear, and to approach them with thoughtfulness and care. Life will present us with moments of temptation, of doubt, of emotional overwhelm. In those moments, we have a choice: to act in ways that honor our relationships, or to let the heat of the moment dictate our actions. It's a choice that defines not only our relationships, but also who we are. To anyone listening, I want to share this important lesson. True love, whether romantic, familial, or platonic, isn't just about the grand gestures or the intense emotions. It's about the quiet, consistent acts of respect and understanding. It's about holding yourself accountable and choosing, every day, to protect and nurture the bonds you've worked so hard to build. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story. If my experience resonates with you or provides some insight, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm grateful to share these personal reflections with you, and I hope we can continue to learn and grow together. Let's navigate life's challenges and triumphs one story at a time.